The story, I Escaped from Auschwitz, to be such an intriguing account of one man's endurance during the Second World War.
You realize that's the text we're analyzing today, right?
We gotta stop messing around. We've got an essay to write. That is sadly ironic. I mean, we're analyzing a text called I Escaped from Auschwitz when so few actually did.
I wish it were more.
It almost makes you consider whether or not Verba was alone in his efforts. If anyone managed to escape alongside him, a colleague to lift him up in those testing years.
This is why we have to appreciate this sort of stuff. Very few people made it out, and fewer chose to document their traumatic experiences. In taking upon ourselves to remember the horrors they endured, we're not only honoring their legacy, but nurturing it. That being said, I think this is a good time to start our essay. We've wasted enough time as it is. Matthew, you seem pretty enthusiastic about the piece. Mind reading the prompt for us?
It would be my pleasure to nurture Rudolf Verba's legacy. One moment. Ah, yes. How does Verba use irony when recounting his memories of Auschwitz? What impact does irony have on the overall tone of his writing? Use specific examples from the text and answer in an essay of at least 250 words. I might get a little too excited about this sort of stuff. Please forgive me for my geekiness.
Oh, it's all cool.
Alright, so we're looking for irony.
Irony. I think I found something right here.
What's got you so giddy now?
This. We've been studying out irony since the very beginning. Just look here. In the first paragraph it states, it was probably the first and certainly the last time he had ever been untidy in his life.
How does this particular excerpt relate back to our selected prompt?
This is one example of how Verba used irony, and we can argue that it relates back to our prompt as it sets an eerie tone for the piece. The next time he implements this literary technique, the tone is further substantiated.
I see it now. Guys, check out this example in paragraph 3. If he had one ambition, indeed, I felt sure it was to be invisible.
Now you're getting the hang of it.
Could you tell us how that impacts the tone of the piece?
I guess it provides the reader with a better understanding of the character Yankel and his unique attributes. Thus, it sets a tone that enables the reader to empathize with the character. I mean, wouldn't we all like to feel invisible sometimes? Some days, I wish I could do nothing more but curl up into a ball and fade gently away from the horrors of reality.
That's a good point, but I would argue it also strengthens the tone that was initially set by the first piece of irony. And implying that Yankel was a solitary individual, that eerie tone is further established as the character who we've been informed beforehand is going to die has now been laid out for us in additional detail, and it's explicitly made out to be one who keeps to himself. Almost evokes an air of mystery, don't you think?
Yeah.
I guess I can see that.
Now that we've identified a few of the examples of irony present in this piece, how can we relate them back to the subject matter?
Good question. Which section of the subject matter are we focusing on? There's a lot of content to go off of here.
Let's commence by analyzing the way people were affected by Auschwitz.
I found something.
Already?
Yeah, this prompt really has been growing on me.
Let's hear it.
Well, just look at paragraph 11, in which the block senior demands, there must be absolute order. Anybody who fails to carry out these instructions implicitly will be punished with the utmost severity. In the following paragraph, Verba notes, I was more nervous than usual when I went to bed that night. One blunder in the presence of the Reichsfuhrer could mean flogging or hanging or both. Based upon this evidence, we can tell how strict the routines and expectations were for those residing in Auschwitz and how failure to heed such orders brought horrific punishments upon the individual who stepped out of line. Verba states that he's more nervous than usual because the stakes have been heightened, and while considering the direness of those stakes, who can blame him?
You've all made some remarkably good points in regards to this particular facet of the text, so I suggest we consider how people cope with those unsettled routines over the course of their day-to-day life in Auschwitz.
Well, according to the text and a few other resources, the inhabitants of the camp only truly survived by taking risks. Some survived by just heeding every order the commanders issued, regardless of the pain they knew would ensue them when they remained docile.
Oh my gosh. That information really gives you an idea of how desperate people were for just a glimmer of hope that escape from Auschwitz was feasible, and how they'd sooner take such a leap and die than face the alternative. A lifetime of groundless punishment and humiliation at the hands of those they despise. Excellent find, Natasha.
This makes a lot of sense now, but let's start to wrap up. The bell's due to ring soon.
In conclusion, I think we can all come to the consensus that Rudolf Verba uses irony when recounting his memories of Auschwitz by providing intriguing and ironically unfortunate examples of his 17-day journey through Auschwitz. We agree upon the fact that he explained these through his writing as a dual point of view of the soldiers and the prisoners of the concentration camp.
Implementing it at the commencement of this piece so as to set an eerie tone and continuing to utilize the technique to substantiate that tone throughout the rest of the story.
Describing one of the main characters via the usage of irony.
Don't forget, it not only engages the reader in the text, but also aids them in visualizing the story that is transpiring.
We forgive you for your unfathomable weirdness.
Well, guys, I think we're all ready to write.